All right. Okay. Attendance, if you don't see your name on the list, this should be editable at the moment. The meeting minutes are the same as the link in the email, and I put it in the chat, but if you missed it, let me know and I can submit it again. Okay. We left off last time on ordering external hard drive pieces. John, I saw your name on the participants list.
Uh-oh.
How is this going?
That is, I'm about ready to pull the trigger on that, but I think Gary sent me the enclosure they used, but I have to look it up again. If Gary has it conveniently handy, if you could send it to me again, I'll use that. I'm presuming that is a Amazon order.
The only thing that was the part number I had was for the SCSI adapter and wall wart. There was no physical enclosure for the drive. It just plugged into the connector at the end.
Okay. The wall wart powered the drive.
Yes, that much work. Yes.
Do you remember what the voltage was on the wall wart?
I'll go pull it out of the drawer.
Because it's 5 or 12. I could
right through the wall you
want. Since we're going to have to package this thing, we're of course interested in the size. Are we going to be shipping this to everybody, John?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, that's what we thought, but
so it looks like it's going to be probably a 3.5 inch, or is it the 5, whatever the full size hard drive is. It's going to be one of the I think a Western Digital Purple 4 terabyte drives. I think that's what Bill Engelke wanted.
Well, maybe we could get the information on it and so we could look it up or something, but
yeah, oh yeah.
It's got to fit in the box. So we got to choose the right box.
12 volts at 2 amps.
12 volts at 2 amps. Okay. That just might work. If I put 2 connectors or a connector on that on my digital control board, the Grape 2 can run it directly. Since I got a 12 volt 3 amp supply running the whole thing. So that would work, which would eliminate the power supply, but I still have to buy the, well, anyway, I got to buy 50 of these things. Yeah. Yeah, it's a full size drive.
That's a 5 1/4, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, not a 3.5.
Correct.
They're 3.5.
Well, the platter size is, well, it's considered the full size drive.
Yeah, the physical dimensions are 4 inches by 5.5 by about 1 inch.
Yeah. So it's a 3 inch drive. But it fits in a full size slot.
Right.
So that's to be done very soon. I don't think I'm holding up the NEGG right now. I think Bill got the box Wednesday morning.
Yep, I transferred it to Stan.
And I think Stan says he counted everything and it was all there, so I passed.
The question of, we do have, you sent us the SD cards. Should I send those to Bill Engelke?
That's a question you need to ask Bill. I'm not sure how that's going right now.
Well, he's here somewhere, or he was.
Yep, he's here.
Yeah, I need to have the SD cards, but before that, I need to work with somebody who's more deeply experienced with Linux than I am, because I can't get the image created. John, I worked with that, all the advice you sent me, and I just hit a dead end.
Okay.
So
I can probably help you with that.
We need a separate Zoom session just on this, because
okay.
I can't go any further. And I'm trying to rebuild the system from scratch on another system. I'm hitting some roadblocks there, but those I know what to do about. But this business of resizing the image, I have not been successful, everything I've tried.
Now, is this running under Ubuntu under a like a i7 or something like that?
It's running on a Raspberry Pi.
Oh, okay. I don't think the Perl script runs under Raspbian.
It's not Raspbian. I'm running Ubuntu.
It is Ubuntu, okay. That I've never tried it on. I've always run it on, actually, I run Ryzen 7s, but that's the only one, because I know will not run under a Mac, and I will not run it under the Raspberry Pi OS. The only one I've gotten it to work on is my system that's running Ubuntu. So
Well, I have a laptop with an Intel processor in it that I can plug the drive into.
Okay.
We can certainly try that.
yeah, because I found it was just the Ubuntu distro that seemed to have the right library support for the Perl script, and that's the problem I was running into with the other OSs. It just didn't support it, or it was old enough.
I think can you stick around after this session, because it might take us an hour to work through this.
Okay.
And back to my original question, Bill, can you just send me where you want those sent?
My address is good on QRZ.com.
Okay,
Okay, and just to clear up, I guess, old business, Gary, did you add this is from a few weeks ago, the power strip to the recommended supply list? So I can delete this.
Yes, it is on there.
Perfect. Did anyone talk to Celissa about reimbursement for the 9-volt wall warts?
No,
Okay. And also shipping numbers. I suppose that can kind of be
with
Yeah.
that,
long.
That's ongoing.
yeah, but
I'm just here to keep the lists tidy, really.
well,
Expect that Nathaniel and Celissa have a FedEx account number that they can use, which is how it'll happen, but I don't
Yes.
know that for a fact.
good, that's fine.
Then on station selection, Gary had an update.
Yes, let me get back to Zoom here. I got too many things open.
Yeah, it's this window here.
Yeah, I know.
Do
Been
you need this?
reasonably I think I've been pretty successful this week on nailing down a couple of more stations. We've had one back out due to some travel commitments, but I'm going through for the last 2 or 3 for the list of people that had originally specified Grape 2 only. And some of those were just because they didn't want to build the surface mount board. But now that the possibility exists, they get one of the 15 complete systems. Some of those people are coming back and agreeing to it. So that's progressing.
And I'm on the list for what, Gary?
Nothing unless you needed a Pi or something like that, because I figured you had so much stuff. I didn't know if you needed to pull anything out of the pool.
I'll need the SD card, but I think I can make everything else. So that's really going to be from Bill.
Okay.
I'll have to
Yeah,
give
obviously that whole thing's up in the air for a while. So
yeah.
but that's it for me, Rachel.
Okay. Is there any other pressing Grape 1 business that needs to get discussed?
I'm back, Rachel.
Hello. Do you have any
Hi.
pressing one?
Um,
Yes.
is there anything really important that I missed?
Everything's in the minutes for the most part.
Great.
We're spending your money.
These are all
That's good.
updates that John and Bill are going to work on after the meeting today.
Okay.
And then stations are being selected.
Great.
And I think that's up to speed.
Good.
Anything else on Grape 1? If not, we will move on. Are there any updates on the Grape 2?
Oh, before we do that, John Gibbons, are you there?
Yep.
Yes, sure. Did you see my email from last Monday, I believe it was, about getting the current Grape 1 image to run on newer Pis?
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't say that I remember reading it.
Okay, well, I have determined that it's very easy to get that to happen. You don't have to recompile anything. You just have to do a sudo apt update and upgrade on Debian,
Uh-huh.
and it boots. It works fine. I've run it for several days.
Okay, so I will look for your email and then I will upgrade the image up on the website before the tsunami of new Grape users hits from
Excellent.
Stan's
Excellent.
something or other in September?
August.
August. Yikes! When in
Yeah.
August?
Next week, not this weekend, next weekend.
Okay,
Well, if there's a tsunami, but the meeting that I have to present is,
well, we really need to have that image work on the Grape Raspberry Pi 4 new version. So if it's as easy as George says it is, I'll take some time out and get that done.
Also, Bill Engelkey, I have gotten your Ubuntu image working, and I'm uploading data to the control system all of 2 days now.
Outstanding,
I'm sorry?
outstanding.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there's a newer version. This one is 2023-0608.
That's what John and I are going to be working on.
Okay. Let me know as soon as there's a newer one, because I'm volunteered to do the documentation on this. And I followed your instructions how to configure your Grape 1 DRF system for uploading to the PSWS network. And that needs some editing, but we can work together.
Right, yeah, there's one or two things I added to the configuration, which I'll have to let you know about.
Okay. I would sure like to talk with you person to person at some point.
Is that image available somewhere?
Not yet.
So I have
Well-
a system sitting here waiting for the program.
Okay, well, the one thing to be aware of is the current image runs only on 128 gig SD card. So that's one of the things that John and I are working on right now, trying to trim it down to fit on a 32 gig SD card. I mean, if you would like to download it from the University of Alabama box site, I can add you as give you read permission to that if you want to be an early adopter.
I don't have 128, but I do have 64, so I'll probably wait until the 64 is available. If you think that's going to be not too far in the distant future.
Actually, if the image is available, Bill, I might be able to download it and crunch it down on mine and then put the other one back up.
It looks like there's 2 images on that 128 gig.
There probably are. I mean, I've created several over the. What you want to do is use the latest one.
Well, this 06081, I think, has 2 images on it.
2 partitions?
2.img files. Is that right?
Well, an image file is the whole card, but there
I
could
would
be
have to look
multiple
at it.
partitions on it.
It's a while since I've looked at that. So
We'll figure it out and we'll have the status next week on this.
thank you.
The other Grape information, I was working on the digital RF board and got bit by the fact that Vishay Dale does not put numbers on their resistors, and I got the 4.75Ks mixed with the 475 ohms.
Oops.
And I had some gains of 10 higher on 2 of the boards. So I fixed that. I ran the vector network analyzer plots on the resonant input filters. They're all right where they should be. I'm going to finish running resonant or the filter on the audio chain, put the radio in, and then actually go live with the radio and see if it actually receives and it works, and change the gain. And once that works, then Kung and Bill are going to get their radios. But I've also designed into the system on the main board the ability to inject a test signal that is generated by the U-blocks to test all the channels and the gains. So I have to write up a procedure for testing the boards out, because once I do that and send the boards to Bill and Kung, I'm going to go out to the board house and get 50 of these made, and then I have to test them. So I just need my test engineer, an engineer for software for that, the fixture support. Yeah, you know, if you've made boards, you understand. I got a lot of work ahead of me.
Round up a bunch of graduate students.
It's like herding cats, right, Rachel?
Oh, yeah, I know. I was one once.
Outside office.
One further question for Bill. How do you read a .h5 file?
There's not a simple answer to that.
Well, we'll talk later then.
I can give you some brief answers. There are some software packages, including ones that have graphical user interfaces. One is called Panoply.
Again, please.
Panoply, which I can put that in the
Okay,
in the
please.
chat.
Yeah,
So this is a NASA product, and it will open all sorts of different types of HDF5 and NetCDF and other types of data files. And it
good.
includes some basic plotting tools, and it works on Windows, Linux, and Mac.
Wow.
So that's one option. Now there's another part to this. The types of data that that are going to be generated by digital RF, even though they're in H5 files, they're separated into very tiny H files, and it's complex IQ data. So using Panoply is probably going to be of limited help. What Panoply will let you do is it will let you kind of peek inside the files, see what's actually being written. You'll be able to make sure things aren't like all zeros. You'll be able to read all the metadata, stuff like that. But if you're trying to actually get like a useful waterfall, you're probably going to struggle with that. So I have 2 answers right now for like producing some sort of a waterfall display. One is digital RF itself actually includes plotting utilities.
Includes what utilities?
Plotting visualization utilities. So
Okay.
if you install digital RF on a Linux system, there are scripts in there that are specifically made for making waterfalls and spectrograms using HDF5 data that was stored in digital RF format.
Can it be done in real time?
It can be done. No, I think it's more of like a batch sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So no. But what it could be used for, you could use it to say, write a batch script at the end of the day, just like right now, you have a script that generates your daily Grape version 1 plots. You could use these utilities to create a similar script that would create a daily plot. Okay.
Need that.
What's that?
I said, we need that.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
So digital RF does have that in there, but you will need some facility and programming in Python probably to get it set up the way you'd like it to. But they do have it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other another option, digital RF will let you, if you want a more real-time option, you could use GNU Radio. Once it's into GNU Radio, that can provide streams to places. And I know we've had some discussions about how bad the GNU Radio real-time waterfalls are. I see George as something on his screen. What's
Yeah,
that, George?
That's since last night.
That looks very good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. So is that a result? So I never heard the results of Gary trying to get a volunteer programmer to work on that. What came of that?
I got one response from Kevin Coggins, who's been offered work on a couple of different things, and I tried to put him in touch with Bill and Stan, who had some ideas going back and forth, but I don't know that anybody's actually worked on that.
Well,
Yeah.
no, well, Stan and I worked on that and got something working on Stan's system earlier in the week.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think for the real-time display, I think a GNU radio stream to some sort of front end is probably the way to go. And for doing the nightly scripts, I think using the built-in digital RF tools, which are really just built on top of Python and Matplotlib. So you can go in and you can customize those. I think that's the way to go.
Thank you.
Amen.
Yeah, I worked with Stan on adding a frequency block it's a Qt GUI frequency block that runs at a faster update rate than the waterfall, and it updates every, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds. So it's fairly simple to do, but I've been so busy I haven't had time to even document it. I mean, if you run GNU Radio, the GNU Radio companion user interface, and this drag a frequency block on there, and I don't know. I don't want to try and just explain it right here, but it can be done in 5 minutes if you have any familiarity at all with GNU Radio.
Thank you.
Those sound like some positive developments.
Well, we've been working on it.
I can tell.
I have you go ahead, Rachel. I have a photo I want to share with you guys, but I have to stage it here for a moment.
Sure. Do you want me to put it in the minutes?
The photo, no. Well,
All right. Any other updates on the Grape 2 progress and deployment?
Yeah, we've been working on getting the transfer between the systems going, and we're still not 100% getting 8,000 samples each second, and we think we understand why, but
I'm actually getting it now.
well, you are getting it now.
Yeah, I've got it running last night in the multi-core acquisition. So
Okay, so we
letting
got
it run.
we
Yeah.
have the data transfer working. Hot off the press. The other realization that I came to, and I talked with Bill Lenguke about this, is that for Kung to be generating the digital RF format on the Grape 2, it's not going to work for the simple reason, even compressed, it's 5 gigabytes of data per day, and we can't transfer that with 50 nodes going to Bill's server. So that's not going to work. I have to do some visualization anyway. So with David Kasdan's program, we're going to be doing the frequency calculation and creating those simple files like we were on Grape 1. Same format, same everything. But the data will be saved on the hard drive. So in the future, we can do something. But for the initial release, I don't see that happening, simply because you can't expect somebody to be transferring 5 gigabytes of compressed data every day from each node. That's just going to collapse the system. And I think Bill Engelke is going to run into problems too with 50 nodes doing that. That's a lot of data.
Yeah, I mean, the UA system we put together is a proof of concept. If we want to run 50 nodes doing that, we'll have to re-architect the system to run on Amazon Web Services, and it will be you'll be talking about some real money to acquire that per year. But calculations I've done, and I've actually verified this by running my system at this rate. It's 6 gigabytes per day per channel. So if you're collecting 3 channels, that's 18 gig compressed.
That's only 18 then.
18 gigabytes compressed per system. That's 3 channels.
Woo-wee. Nathaniel, you're gonna need some duct tape around your head so it doesn't explode.
Yeah, no, this honestly, this doesn't totally surprise me. And I do appreciate how big these numbers are and kind of the gravity of the situation. But I think as we start to visualize the data and as we, work with it a bit more, I think we will figure out how to get it down to a manageable amount that is usable.
Right.
And even I can tell you, as much as I've told you the bandwidth numbers, like I've written some bandwidth numbers which down stating different things, even if we did end up just saying we can only get, a couple of hertz around the carrier, I would take that in a heartbeat over what we're having now.
Well, the implication there is that you're running digital RF to be able to do that processing to reduce the bandwidth to that.
Yes.
That's the key point I think I missed is, yeah, we want a 10 bandwidth around it, but that's not coming from the raw data system. That's coming after processing from the digital RF program.
Yes. Yeah.
So we may be able to come up with something better or more efficient or something more. Let's just say it's a work in progress.
Yes, I think that's just fine.
The fundamental issue is we need to get something deployed that can save the full spectrum as well as be able to show the user that it's working. And that's the path I'm heading on now with Kung. And
that's a great, yes.
I mean, that's really the goal. We can get the data. As long as we get the data, we can post-process it, which is what the intent is anyway. So that's exactly what I'm pushing on and trying to stay on track.
Yes, I think that's exactly right.
And one other question for you, Nathaniel, the money that I've spent for the Grape 1 distribution, is that coming out of my pocket of money or is that separate?
The extra $4,800?
Yeah.
It's coming from it's basically coming from the same grant.
Okay.
So I just had some extra
money. So I don't have to worry about purchasing or running the money problems when I go to the board house.
Right.
Because I'm still in good shape. The only thing I have to order, I think, is the hard drives. And I've got the controllers. And being that we don't need the ability for the swap stuff and the processing stuff that digital RF requires, I'm still thinking about going to a 4 terabyte solid state drive because the writes will be once and the reliability should be good and it'll be cheaper and easier.
Okay. That seems reasonable.
Okay.
And practice will tell us if these things last or not. And if
they've got a 3-year warranty, and the thing that kills them is the constant rewriting because there's a smoothing algorithm that moves stuff around because you only get like 10,000 writes per cell.
Yeah.
And hard drives put up with that with no problem, but solid state drives, you wear them out. But if we're just writing the file once and not playing around with it, the algorithm doesn't get invoked.
Right. So also just back to the money thing, just so we're clear, I gave you an original amount of money to do the Grape 2. And then I said, here's an extra $4,800.
Okay, that's the part I missed. Okay.
So
we're good. Okay.
So basically I just increased your cap by $4,800.
Okay, so I should keep the documentation under the same file or the same spreadsheet?
You can keep it under the same spreadsheet. That's fine.
Okay, because I've only got really 2 items for that now, and I'll have the third one for the hard drive. So
okay, yeah. And you can thank Kung partly for that because I offered to buy him a new laptop for research purposes, and he said he didn't need it. So that money got reallocated to Grape 1.
Wow. I need a laptop. Thank you, Kung.
No problem at all.
Kung, if you still need a laptop at some point, we can talk.
Yeah, really. They go obsolete in 2 years, so keep an open mind on that one.
Okay, Rachel, I have that photo ready to share if I may. If you, yeah.
Yeah.
So they share screen. And this is somewhat ugly, but this is my setup. And you'll notice.
Oh, that's way cool.
This is the incoming from the antenna. I split it into 2 Grape boards with 2 pies, one of them running the current 1.1 software, one of them running Bill Engelke's GNU radio. Here's the hard drive. I have a switch for the video, only 1 monitor, and only 1 Bodner with another power splitter to split the Bodner between the 2, and this one to split the input signal between the 2.
What is the signal level going in for the local oscillator on the Grape?
It's about, it looks to be somewhat like 5 or more dB lower than it is without the splitter.
Okay, so the mixer's still giving a decent output then?
It is, and the
Okay.
what do you call it?
Because I got a divider in there, a simple resistive divider that we could compensate for that real easy.
Yeah, well, let's talk.
Okay.
The Doppler shift data looks exactly like all the other data from my cohorts here in New England.
Did you look at the input waveform at the local oscillator pin coming out of the divider? What was that peak voltage instead of being 3.3?
I haven't looked at it.
Okay, that'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
If it's at 3 or something like that, that'd be fine. But if it's down below like 1.5 volts, then we're gonna have to do something about it.
Okay. But that's
That's an easy fix.
Someone a while ago mentioned that it would be interesting to see the 2 systems side by side with the same input signal. So
Yeah,
What you can do though is get rid of the second Grape and just take the 2 analog outputs directly into your 2 digital cards. That way you you're getting the same thing. Because right now the gain and filtering on the 2 Grapes are not identical. They're close, but within 0.001 dB, they're not the same. But for our purposes, we probably don't care. So
don't care. That's I'm looking at I think the Doppler shift is what we care about.
right. As long as you're measuring that, you're fine.
Measuring that, and it's right in sync with everything else that the New England group sees.
Okay, good. Nice job.
All done. Thank you.
that looks really nice.
It's it's messy, but it works.
Oh, you haven't seen messy.
That's not messy. I can show you messy.
I define messy when you look me up in the dictionary.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah, back to net, Rachel.
Fair point.
You're hurting cats again.
I just got this one to settle down and not eat my laptop, so not a good sign. Anyway.
Bella, get over here.
Okay. Where were we? Oh. Kung, I'm gonna pick on you for a hot second. Do you have any updates?
Yes, I do. So we ran into I ran into a hardware issue. So on the Grape 2, there's a Pico, a Pi Pico that we use as a microcontroller. For some reason, I was not able to program that Pico through the Pi in our system. So I tried reseating it a few times as John and Bill recommended, and move it around a little bit in a few different ways, but it still wasn't able to program it. So I had to pull it off, the Pico completely off the main board, and just connect the Pi and the Pico using some jumper wires, and I was able to program it. So there seems to be some sort of issue in the connection.
Sounds like the socket on the digital control board. Did you try kicking it up a little bit on the
Yeah,
one?
I did.
And it
Yeah,
didn't work.
it did. No, it didn't work.
Okay, do you know how to use an ohm meter?
No.
Okay, because it'd be real easy to ohm out between the Raspberry Pi pin and the Pico pin to verify it.
the
An
socket.
ohm meter? Yeah, I can use that. I thought you, I couldn't understand what you.
Oh, yeah, an ohm meter. If you could measure the resistance from the Raspberry Pi pins 18, 20, and 22 to the Pico pins on the Pico, that'll tell you if you've got an ohmic connection. That's where the problem is, because it's just that simple. They're just a straight wire over, and it sounds like the socket's giving you a headache. And it would be the socket that the Pico plugs into.
Give it a
Would be
Okay,
the best.
I'll test that.
Or it could be the cable between the Raspberry Pi and the board. I mean, but if you measure from the Raspberry Pi pin to the Pico pin, that's where you want to make the measurements.
Okay. I'll try that.
And it's only really going to be the two connections, because the ground, well, yeah, just because there's multiple grounds on the Pico, so it's just
Yeah.
those two pins.
There's those two.
It's got to be that, because it's so simple. There's nothing else to go wrong. And if it's programming with the cables, that tells me we got a socket problem. Now on the Grape 2 production of that board, I'm planning on soldering the Pico directly to the board, which means if you blow it up, it's not going to be easily user replaceable, but it saves all the header pins and socket pins in the hand soldering operations, which gets expensive in production, which I'm trying to avoid. So other than that, I think that's everything for Grape, unless you have something else, Kung.
No, nothing else from me.
How about Bill, other than the fact that you had a major breakthrough last night?
No, that's it.
It's just minor breakthrough. You just
I
got
slept.
to work.
I had a better night's sleep after that.
Yeah. Okay. Other open issues, we already discussed this one, so this might actually be a rabbit hole that is much shallower than we thought it was. Website updates. Gary, you had some updates.
Yeah, I went through the Grape one page, all the builder's instructions and this, that, and the other thing. I found a fair amount of duplication in there, so I cleaned some of that up. I did review John's 75 to 77 page steps of instructions. I found a couple of things that I asked him to look at. I just sent him that before the meeting. One thing, I think when we get this new image for the new Grape hardware done, and John looks at my edits to the user instructions, which I think will generate a new version of those. We just need to go, I just need to go through all the cubby holes where this stuff is stored very carefully, because some places have version 2 and some place else has version 3, and then we're gonna have a version 4 and so on and so forth. So we just need we need a broom, and I'll be that broom when I get back from vacation, probably in September.
Yeah, I need another set of eyes, because when you do your own editing and you just look right through it. So I would greatly appreciate it. I need all the help I can get. But yeah, I'm going to try doing George's upgrade on the original image and get that to work, and then I will compact that and put that up on wherever Christina put it.
Excellent. Thank
and
you.
I'll also update the installation instructions and get that up there as well. Gary, when do I need to get that to you before you are no longer available for vacation?
I've got 2 more weeks.
Okay, I should be able to get it done.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I do appreciate somebody else looking at that, because we just ran into the situation where the node number for the upload time passed 60. So now you have to subtract 60, add an hour, and then put your remaining minutes for the time it gets sent up. So we're at 6. I just assigned node 66 this morning to Joe. So. Nice. Just to ask so that I can, because I'm always looking to delete old stuff, is node 27 updated? It's okay if it's not. Oh, in the database? Yes. I got Mike Lombardi stuff from David or Dave. Yeah, out in Colorado. Jeez, mine is going blank here.
Yes, it's been updated.
Schwartz.
Schwartz,
What-
thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
of all the things I've lost, I missed my mind the most.
Yeah,
I have something else to add to the agenda if we have.
Absolutely. I think at the moment, unless there are any other comments on the above stuff, we are now into open discussion.
Yeah,
I
can
agree.
But
can I
Jump
step back real quick to the GNU radio programming?
yes.
Let me share my screen for a minute and I'll be done. I just want to complete, finish Nathaniel's thought.
Yeah, and I got another update for everybody once you're done, Derry.
Okay, so anyhow, there was a question of, I did go out to the community and ask for some comments or assistance with the GNU radio visualization stuff, and I got 2 good replies back, one of which is Kevin Coggins here. And his comment was, I did a quick mock-up using HD5 files and DRF components, which is exactly what you were saying, Nathaniel. And this is a screenshot he sent back to me. Now,
wow.
I'm not so much worried about using this particular example, but the point is we do have some talent out there.
Yeah.
And they are available for some of this stuff. So the other
Bravo.
response I got was from a guy who works in the U.S. Army and electronic warfare, designing stuff with GNU radio. So
Bringing in the
again,
heavy hitters.
yeah,
that's
we've
the
got
person you
some
need.
people on deck. Let's put it that way. So that's it.
That's good. We need that.
That's it.
Looks good. Yes, looks good.
John?
That looks great.
Oh, okay. In pursuing the efficiency and we're actually writing our own code that FLDigi implemented for the frequency determination, David Kasten is writing a module for Kung to be able to do the frequency determination. And in doing so, being he is Mr. Wizard with signal processing, since he's got his doctorate in that, one of his doctorates in that, he is generating a program that will allow us to create a amplitude, a frequency, and add Gaussian noise to be able to test his algorithm. But the cool thing is, if we save it to an audio file format, which I think is just adding a header to the data we're saving, and the little formatting that I think Kung would probably knock off in 10 minutes, we can actually create test files that FLDigi can read in as an audio waveform to test his algorithm. Because right now we've been assuming FLDigi has been working perfectly. We're getting numbers that make sense, but with the addition of Gaussian noise, we can then determine when the thing gets in trouble in a controlled fashion without having to do it real time. So
I like this.
I'm kind of excited about that because it gives us a tool to work with. And it's just going to be huge for us. So kudos and thanks to David.
I agree.
That's going to be a huge tool for us. So
Thank you, David.
back to net, Rachel.
Absolutely. Dr. Frisell, you said you had some, is this a discussion or is this a presumptive announcement that I put in for you?
I think it's a discussion. So this is from the Hamside legal department, I guess.
Uh-oh.
So, I know.
Uh-oh.
This is the stuff unfortunately, so I have been very fortunate. So far we have been running Hamside. We created it as I got it started when I was a graduate student, and we have been just going along. I've been running it as this website on this Linode, and we've been, working off of the grants and things like that. And everything has pretty much, for the most part, been done on a handshake. We have our formal grant documents, which are actual, legal documents. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. And it's actually worked really well. I've been just so happy with how we've been able to all work together. I think the thing is, for Hamside to continue in the future, we live in a world where we do have to have some sort of more formal sorts of agreements or things on websites, in order to protect us and to make sure we can operate. So a couple of things have come out of this. Gary has written an end user agreement for the grapes that we're sending out. And he wrote a draft of this. which I have not read yet. So I'm actually going to read it for the first time right now, and then we can all comment on it. And the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to start talking with the general counsel here at the University of Scranton. I'm going to send him that document. And I'm also going to say, okay, look, we're doing the citizen science thing. You know, here's we basically need to review our practices and make sure we're operating in a way that will be okay. This scares me a little bit because I have a particular view on how everything should work, and I prefer the handshake method. And I don't like to necessarily go down that route, but I'm also afraid that if I don't go down that route, we can end up in some sort of a situation in the future where it could be very bad. And if we try to work with general counsel now and try to get some of these things in place now when we're, you know, just while we're growing, and, you know, I think it could prevent problems in the future while everyone's still happy. So that's where I'm going with this. Fortunately, there's a couple of fortunate things. Aurora Source is kind of our sister citizen science project in heliophysics. So that's led by Dr. Elizabeth McDonald and at NASA. And so Aurora Source and HamSci have in some ways grown up together. They do have a formal user agreement, or kind of, they have some legalese on their website. So there's that we can point to. And then also NASA has a citizen science document as well that kind of guides best practices in citizen science. So I can do is I'm planning on sending that information over to our general counsel and having him kind of do a review. I'm going to ask him to do a review of hamsci.org and its practices and what we're doing, and, you know, weigh that in with what Aurora Source does and NASA citizen science best practices and things like that. And I'm also going to emphasize that one of the things that I think that makes HamSci work is I think we try really hard to create a friendly, not burdensome environment for people to be a part of. And I really want to make sure we don't lose that. I want it to continue to just be like friends getting together, working on things. And so I'm going to do my best to make sure that however this works out, you know, we do it in such a way that it preserves that. Any comments?
Amen.
I think it's a really good idea, having been in industry and signed so many NDAs that I can't remember half of them.
Yeah.
This makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
They're not only protect Scranton and you, it's protect everybody.
I agree. And some of the
in
things
this world that's so litigious.
and also protect the work.
Yes.
I'm very much a fan of continuing. I really like the open source software and license agreements. I think they're nice because they allow the person who is doing the work to be able to continue to use it in the way that they want to. And at the same time, it makes it available to the group as a whole. And so things like the Tapper Open Hardware license and the GNU GPL version 3, I'm going to continue pushing that all of our work is done through that. So how about if Gary, do you mind if I put your document up and I just read it out loud? And
No, go right ahead. Just
Okay.
remember, everybody remember, it was an engineer writing this, trying not to be a lawyer, so go easy on me.
yeah, and this is going to be my first read of it too, so it really is kind of like a you know, it's a open discussion. All right, let's get this going. But I do appreciate Gary putting this together. So this says the HamSci Grape Doppler Receiving System User Agreement. This document describes what you can expect from HAMSI, what HAMSI expects from you when you agree to host a Grape Doppler receiver system, GDRS, as supplied by HAMSI. This agreement shall be valid for as long as the host is willing or until HAMSI determines the GDRS is no longer has value, no longer has research value. HAMSI is loaning you the equipment in a mutually beneficial agreement. HAMSI expects no payments from you, and you should not expect any payments from HAMSI. HAMSI expects the GDRS will be operated at a mutually agreed upon location noted by latitude, longitude, or Maidenhead grid square. The location will be chosen with HAMSI's research needs in mind. HAMSI asks that you discuss any plans to move the GDRS with the Grape project principal investigator or their representative. It is expected that you will provide a suitable physical location for the GDRS and the antenna associated with the Grape project. You will provide power for the Grape system and a connection to the internet of adequate speed to meet the GDRS data upload requirements. HAMSI may provide accessories such as an HF receiving antenna to GDRS hosts. It is the host's responsibility to determine whether any particular antenna design or configuration is suitable for their location and installation skills. Data collected by GDRS will be stored in accordance with FAIR's principles, gofair.org/FAIR's principles. GDRS hosts agree that the collected data, e.g.
For instance,
e.g. received frequency spectrum, signal strength data, time, GDRS location, can be put into the public domain, and that they do not retain any ownership of the data. Prior to publication, data will be anonymized to the greatest degree possible, generally denoted with geographic identifiers such as latitude, longitude, and Maidenhead grid square. We'll come back to this in a minute. Some ham radio operators like to see their call sign in print. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I was gonna say at the moment the Grape data is definitely not anonymized, because like if you go to this Zenodo repository and you grab a bunch of it, you get generally people's call signs.
Well, call signs are in the public domain already anyway, so
That's fair,
Yeah,
but
they're public domain, but if we say we're going to anonymize it and we include in call signs, we're not doing that.
right.
Yeah.
I suggest deleting that for now.
That's fine. My assumption was that if we were going to publish something publicly, we'd ask the person first, but I didn't know how to write all that up. So,
Well,
but
we're
whatever.
not getting address or phone number or any personal information, so I don't see a big.
Yeah, their address is on QRZ.com.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you share someone's call sign, you are kind of sharing their address.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to give somebody an option, like they were very strongly against having their call sign on there, but I feel like that would probably come up beforehand. I don't know.
Well, the
So
problem
there's
is
an
you need
opt-in.
at least the latitude and the longitude and or the grid square for the data to be relevant for the science project. You have to know where it's coming from, so you can't eliminate that.
I think where is it?
But on longitude
I
and
think
latitude, you could, excuse me for a minute, for longitude and latitude, you could specify to what resolution that would be, so it's not identifying the exact location.
Well, I think this is where having the review with the general counsel may be important. And where do they have it? Aurorasaurus does have Aurorasaurus has a user agreement too. So I think for now, I have a feeling this is going to get revised before we send it out.
Oh, sure.
I think for the moment, I think in the interest of time, I would not let this agreement hold up sending out the Grape ones, if that makes sense. Because I think we wrote very clearly in the grant that we were going to send these things out to people. We did not say we were going to make them sign anything. So like if you look in the grant text, it says we're going to send stuff that we purchased with the grant money, and we're doing that. And I think the real important thing right now is to get these Grape ones distributed and out to people and set up. So I wouldn't necessarily hold up distribution of that equipment with this. And yes, I realize there's some risk that maybe they move the thing around, maybe it doesn't work, and then we go and we say, well, okay, you know, we lost $500, but we got all this other data. Most people are going to be just fine. So I don't want this to hold up the project. All right, so keep going. Data collected by so I'm just removing the promise that we're going to anonymize it right now, because that could be very tricky. It is hoped, it's certainly not required, that hosts will participate in the GDRS forums such as listservs, email lists, in-person meetings, and workshops. Details on all can be found on the HamSci website. Should you no longer want to host the GDRS supplied by HamSci, please return to HamSci. The PI or the representative will assist with the return. In that event, you will lose. In the event that you lose the PI's contact information, you may reach them at hamsci.org. Thank you for volunteering. I think it's a great draft.
Fantastic draft, Gary. Good job. That
Yeah,
really
very good
catches the
job,
essence.
Gary. I just have one concern, and having done this for other systems, and that is, it doesn't say anywhere in there that we're not responsible for any damage or harm that happens to the hosting facility, such as starting a fire that burns down the house that this is in.
Right.
And so, even though I don't think what John did was start those fires, but somebody could
happens.
say,
You're using active power, and something can go wrong. Get a lightning strike.
yeah, and so
yeah, that's a problem.
Well,
We have to somehow
Here was my
clear
thought on that.
we're not responsible for anything. We could also do denial of service attacks over the internet, because this thing's hooking to the internet and they don't know what code is in it. So-
And that's true, and I understand that, and I thought about that, and I thought that got so deeply into the legalese that I wasn't qualified to write a statement like that. The other thing is, you can buy pretty much anything at Walmart or any other store and plug it into your house, and that thing doesn't, I don't believe, has such an agreement attached with it. I mean, whether it's a shaver or a heater or anything else, so.
But
I was
but
afraid to add
adding it doesn't cost much. And
No, okay.
it's all boilerplate, but I think we need something like that.
It only takes one use case to make it useful.
Yeah.
I think
I hope that use
so
case never
I-
happens, by the way.
I think, yeah, I agree. I hope this never happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this off to our general counsel. Are there any other substantive comments before I wrap this up?
Fix Maidenhead.
Okay. Anything else?
I had a question, Nathaniel, for the
Yeah.
software we're writing, if we're gonna follow the GNU licensing. We probably want a statement in the header of each software module to the effect that, to state the copyright or copyleft agreement and the proprietorship of ownership or whatever of HamSci,
Yeah.
and the free ability for people to use as they wish.
So
Something
I
like
think,
that.
and then another important thing to understand, and this is something I think is going to have to change with this document, is and I'm gonna have to work out with general counsel and stuff. HamSci is not a legal entity. It's not a 401c3. It doesn't, there's no like actual, I bought a domain name and I put up a website. It's not a legal entity. So what is the part that is a legal thing is the University of Scranton and Case Western Reserve, and the University of Alabama and NJIT for the SEQP and for some of these things. We all do have formally approved and awarded grants. So those institutions have kind of legal standing. Aside from that, HamSci itself does not have legal standing. So when this goes out, it's very likely going to change. Instead of what you can expect from HamSci, or like it's probably going to end up saying the University of Scranton. I don't know. And this is part of what scares me a little bit. I don't really know what's going to happen as I go down this process. But I feel like if I don't go down this process, we're not going to be able to grow the way we need to.
Or you
Well,
might
they
ask
might-
them if we need to go and create HAMSI as a legal entity. I mean, it might be something simple to do.
Yeah. Yeah, let general counsel figure that out. That's what they get paid to do, so.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can make it part of the university. I mean, I don't know how it is in Pennsylvania, but in Alabama, the University of Alabama is a legal part of state government. And in the state constitution, it says, state courts will not accept any lawsuit filed against any arm of state government. So the university is immune from lawsuits.
Well, I
so-
guess what I don't really want to do, I think I don't necessarily want to have HAMSI owned by any one particular university, because I certainly hope that I can stay here for the rest of my career. And I hope that, like, I'm trying to do everything to go towards that. But you know,
Things happen.
institutions change or things like that. And I think it's better for HAMSI to, I think it'd be better for it to be its own organization if possible, kind of like Tapper, rather than owned by a particular institution. So what I would like to see, you know, rather than the university say it owns HAMSI, I would like to see it say that it is, you know, hosting HAMSI, or, you know, the projects. So certainly the grant projects that HAMSI is facilitating, the personal space weather station and those sorts of things, those are of course awarded to the universities. But HAMSI itself, I don't think should necessarily belong to a particular institution.
Yeah, maybe you figure out how AMSAT did it. Maybe it's an LLC or something like that.
Yeah. So I think, so these are some of the things I'll be thinking about, but I think this is a good draft, and I think it's a good, so I'm sure I'll have lots of fun conversations in my future. But I'd rather be on 20 meters.
I just wanted to reemphasize, when you speak to the lawyers, if you could ask them about copyright notices in the
Okay.
software.
In the software itself.
Yeah,
We'll come up, yeah, we'll have to do that. I would say for the moment, I feel very comfortable putting things as a GPL version 3 at Virginia,
okay,
and you can put, you know, your own name on there if you wrote the software, and I think that's only fair. But if you license it as GPL version 3, my understanding is basically that means that anyone can use the software. They can use it commercially if they want. But if they use it commercially or however they use it, they also have to be able to provide the source code, and any changes that they make to the software have to also be open sourced.
right.
So it forces some sort of improvement on on that code. So I think the GPL version 3 is safe, and so far that, you know, is what we've been using for everything, and the university has been happy with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
There's one other thing that's sort of a 10,000-foot level, and we don't have to answer it today, but what is the forward path for Grape 1? Is it going to be retired? Is it going to be?
I don't necessarily think so. What I would like to see Grape 1, so there's two reasons I don't think it will be retired. Number one is it actually is collecting useful data, and our goal is to have as many data points as possible. So what I would like to see, I'm hoping to see is that instead of just replacing all the Grape 1 stations with Grape 2 stations, and decommissioning all the Grape 1 stations, we somehow double our network. So I don't know if that means that the people who get Grape 1s or who get Grape 2s, they swap them out and then send us the Grape 1s back, and then we find new homes for them. Or if it means that instead of a person who gets a Grape 1, they're just like, okay, I'm happy with this, we'll find a new home for the Grape 2. I'm hoping that we can continue to use the systems that have been created. The second part of it is I strongly believe there is a place for simple electronics that people can build and understand with their own two hands. And I think this is a really valuable thing for education and for hobbyists. And so I would like to see Grape 1 be, like, I know that Grape 2, it's just going to be, you know, kind of impossible for an individual hobbyist to build. I'd like to see Grape One continue to be offered, but in a package that it's always like, if you want to learn how to build something and actually solder something yourself and kind of understand the part, I see it really playing a role there.
I could see turning the Grape One board, adding the U blocks to get rid of the Leo Bodnar component because it would be half the price.
Yeah,
It
I
would
strongly agree with that.
and also make the power supply on the header so it runs the Pi as well.
Mhm.
And make it all one board that plugs on, like I've done for some other things. But that's going to require the U-block stuff is going to require some code from Bill. And I don't want to make a commitment to his time for that. So we'll have to talk.
Yeah, I think that's for an after the Grape 2 gets deployed, sort of thing, and we
Because
kind
we'll
of
be
have
able to
networks
reuse a
going.
lot of that code.
Yeah. Because I think right now that niche of being able to build something yourself is filled with what's there. We can tell people, go to OSH Park, you can go get all the parts, you can build your bomb. Yeah, you have to buy a Leo Bodnar, but still you can do it yourself. That's working. Let's get the Grape 2 going, and then once we have the Grape 2 and we're happy with that, we can go back and revisit the Grape 1 and say, okay, how do we improve this with meeting those goals? And I do like the idea of integrating the U blocks, because I know that that just makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. It's just something that's been gnawing at me for a while, that, this, as you know, was a prototype that was like, no. And
Yeah.
so yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I think it's been a great prototype, and I think it's really helped us grow.
At the workshop, I think Christina and Rachel both said they'd like to see the Grape One data through, at least through the end of this solar cycle. Maybe they've rethought that or something. I don't know.
No,
they're actively using the data. So yeah.
There's two parts to that. One is, I've promised Christina that we would not decommission the Grape One network that's already in place until we get something where we prove that the Grape 2 can replicate equivalently what they're doing with the Grape Ones. And that's part of where David Kasdan is working on writing that code module that rides onto the Grape 2. It'll continue providing that legacy product. So our hope is not to continue providing that. Although the new software package, whatever the new image comes out to be, it will probably have the capability of doing both GNU radio, digital RF, and providing an equivalent FLDigi data product.
Understood.
I've got something, if it's appropriate at this moment.
Go for it.
Stan?
Wow.
Ooh. Wow.
Coming along, guys.
Rachel, you should put that in the minutes.
What'd you do? Turn out the lights and they multiplied?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy.
Well, John got us the parts yesterday afternoon, and we started using them.
Nice.
So I suspect there will be some completed units get tested maybe by this weekend or early next week.
I won't have any documentation by then, but
No,
Well,
they'll need
we're not
they'll need
shipping. We're
they'll
not
need the
shipping.
disk drive. They'll need the disk drives and the DRS software too, right?
Yeah, but we can
Yeah.
test with FLDigi.
Right. No, it's beautiful.
We can test the functionality of the boards.
Right.
That's fantastic.
So the plan is to put 5 together. Obviously, that's the 15 boards right there. But we plan to put 5 together and then run through the board test.
If there is one left over that's not going to be distributed, I would be interested in it for other reasons. But if they're using all 15,
Well, that's up to Gary. I
Yeah.
mean,
I don't know.
or somebody else.
Yeah, Gary understands.
Uh,
I just
So-
don't want it sitting there collecting dust. I have
No.
some ideas.
well,
I won't do that.
One other thought while our principal investigator's on the call. A lot of these people, they've only corresponded with one person, me. At some point, it'd be nice to have, I guess I would say a paragraph or a cover letter, either to go out with the hardware itself, or probably it should be sent to all the hosts, all the, the 25 or 26 people that are participating, those that built their own and those that we're supplying. But at some point, I think the PI should write a welcome paragraph. That's all.
I would be happy to do that. It'd be an honor.
Yep. So.
I was thinking of some sort of a getting started guide that would be in the box. And perhaps that welcome could be an introduction to that guide.
Exactly. Right.
We done?
I'm done. Are you done?
Are you done, Stan?
Oh,
well, anyway, we wanted to show that we got some parts and we're moving forward. That's all.
Thank you. That looks amazing.
I should
Thank-
mention
thank
one of the
you,
things
Bob.
I'm going to do also to as part of building these bespoke system images, I'm going to be working with the data that people have supplied when they signed up for an account on the Personal Space Weather Station Network website. And so what it means is that anybody who wants to participate and get one of these images, they have to have their account set up and their instrument created before I can proceed. And what I will do is I will get the information that they have put in, send them an email of what I believe they're planning to do based on what they put out there, and then ask them to verify it. So because part of the configuration is to indicate what the frequency, you have to tell the thing specifically what frequency you're going to run this thing at, because I can't figure that out by reading the Grape somehow.
Yeah,
And
I noticed that in the current release, that frequency and the name of the Grape are hard coded on the
it's
chart.
hard coded, right? And that's going to come from the configuration in the future. So
Good.
people have control over that without having to edit something in GNU Radio.
Also, question about the spectrum storage variable. The name of the guy's hard drive has got to be in the configuration, and I'm curious as to how you would know that.
I can't configure that unless people tell. I mean, I can ask them to tell me that.
Yeah.
Or I can give them instructions on how to edit the config file.
I know on Grape 2 for the 4 terabyte solid state drive that's saving the data, I am naming the drive G2 data. So we always have a consistent path to write the data to.
Yeah. I think
Otherwise, you get
that's
this
the way to go.
long number, that's the serial number of the drive, and then that's a major nightmare. So it's more work up front to create that drive name just by, naming the drive, but it saves a lot of hassle for Bill and for Kung.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. You might want to adopt that because it could save you a lot of headaches, because if everybody's name is different, it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, so we need to tell them to change the name of if they have a drive with name X, they need to change it to a standard.
To something that you want that you can point to. Yeah. Because the operating system moved. Because right now, I think Bill is just looking for drive called G2 data / and then the directory structure after that.
Right. And that's mounted, the external drive is mounted on that name.
Yeah, it's mounted in the file system. So
empty directory in root /
you can use
G2
system
data.
utilities to talk to it. So that makes a difference.
And
So that'll be in George's instructions then.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Now that having them edit files in a terminal window is hardly turnkey, but it might have to be.
It seems a reasonable request, and people have been pretty successful with the Grape one so far. So I think we'll have to continue that.
Well,
Well,
the
I mean,
Grape 2 is-
if
that's-
we're comfortable with telling them they need to change the name of their hard drive to what we tell them, even if it's named something else. I mean, they gotta edit one thing or the other. So which is easier? I don't know.
Well,
Well, if we're shipping them the hard drive, which presumably we'll test first, the mount command can just be baked in,
That is a point. Yeah.
so
But
they won't
that-
have to edit anything.
That's only 15 units. We've got roughly 30 overall. They're going to be running the DRF stuff, we hope, before the eclipse. So they'll be,
Right. So those people will have to edit the file.
so George's instructions will be important for sure.
Yep.
Been a pretty productive call today.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share as my last thing the minutes for next week because I tend to make them week in advance anyway. And this way I can add
I
stuff
wish
to.
I were as organized as you are, Rachel.
No, I just don't get a lot out of like video stuff. Like someone can tell me something and be like, okay, great. And then after it, like I need to have a written record. And if I was writing it down on paper, I feel like you might as well have a centralized place. As one last thing to clean up lists from last week. John, you had a point about this is off the Grape topic, but John had a question about new ground magnetometer boards from Tapper.
Yeah,
He was check with you about Brazil.
I have not heard, or I don't know how to go about getting those. I guess that's an annual question.
Yeah.
Tapper.org in the shopping tab, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, who are you trying to get them for, like you personally, or are you trying to get them paid for?
I was going to order some because I want to install some because it's going to be part of the Grape 2
Right.
deployment.
Yeah, so I guess we can talk to, probably the thing to do, I guess, is we buy them from tapper.org, but I guess we have to use grant money.
I would think so.
Yeah,
And it's just the remote board and hopefully it has yeah, I'm all set up for it. So.
And the website shows 7 in stock. So
So I want 50 plus 30. I want 80 of them. That'll work. How expensive are they, Gary?
$120. I'm not sure. I believe that's probably the pair, but I don't know that for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2 boards in this kit, $120.
Okay, yeah, we need to talk to them because I've got the board built into the Grape 2.
I don't know if they have a ham side discount or something like that, so.
Well, I suspect that we should be able to talk to who's,
Yeah.
guess Scotty's not really flying the ship
I
anymore.
talked to John Ackerman.
Okay,
I think have a friendly conversation with him and try to figure out what the
Okay.
right way to do, the
okay,
right way to do this is.
makes sense.
And if you do need to purchase those, let me know. I might be able to, there may be separate grant money for purchasing magnetometers then.
Okay,
Okay, so
I'll get back to
don't take that out of your Grape budget.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's money for magnetometer boards.
Okay,
That's separate.
I'm actually going to be installing one probably this weekend.
Okay.
The 3-foot auger drill and the pipes made and
Yeah, anything that has to do with magnetometers, I think their NJIT has a grant that I think can cover that.
oh, okay, cool.
Okay, I think we're out of business at that point, or at this point. Does anyone else have any questions, comments, or concerns?
One real question for the guys in New England. Somebody who is potentially going to receive one of the systems noticed that there was an SMA connector for the WWV antenna. Does the systems come with an adapter so they could plug that into a PL259?
I had included that with all the original grapes, and it's on the parts list.
We don't have them.
It's an Amazon purchase. It's pretty cheap, but
Yeah,
if you need me to order those, I can do that.
yeah. Well, okay, that's something, okay, that we are going to ship one with each system then, is
Okay, so
that,
you need 15 of them then.
well,
Okay.
Okay.
Well, is that just a single request, Gary, or is,
Well, that just came from one person, and then I was making it a general question. That's all. I mean, some people will have F connectors because they'll be using RG6, and some people have PL259. So,
And
but
BNC.
what's
So
that,
we
Joe?
need the SMA to SO239 conversion cable, 6-inch.
And BNC.
Or
Yeah,
just
so
loop converters.
BNC was never, what's BNC for?
Well,
Every piece of test equipment in the world.
Yeah, but the Grape doesn't use that.
well, I have a BNC to SMA adapter on the card.
Yeah, they're
your
available. Even
splitter.
HRO has them.
Yep.
I just don't want 15 people to get these things and not be able to plug an antenna into them. That's all.
I think we should probably supply the SMA to SO239 as standard, and if they want to change it, they can.
Yep.
I just don't want to be buying a gazillion different things.
So it sounds like it's a good idea to order 15 of those and get them to New England.
I will do that.
Thank you.
okay, good.
Last operation for Gary, if you could send me the link again, save me having the trouble to try and find it for the controller.
Oh, the SATA adapter? Yes,
Yeah,
in a minute.
because I'm going to be going directly to Western Digital for the drives.
Right. Yeah, that worked. They came in like 4 days when I ordered one from there.
Yeah, I like the idea because Amazon, anybody can buy a pallet of, the scrap stuff that they sell and pull it out, look at it and sell it as new, and then get screwed. Been burned by that before.
so Gary, that's not an enclosure for the drive, it's just an adapter, or is it an enclosure?
That's correct, Stan. It's just the adapter.
So you're gonna have a bare naked drive and an adapter sticking off of the SATA header on it. That plugs around with a cable into the USB 3 port.
Yeah. Okay, that's what we're doing.
Okay. John and Bill, are you still going? I think we can probably end the call now and you guys can have the Zoom meeting for the Ubuntu issues.
It's either that if they have nobody else, I can send Bill my Zoom link. We can do that either way. So,
That's fair.
but it's up to Bill. If there's
Well,
nobody else
I
on here,
mean, if you want to leave this running, John, I can do it right now, or is that an issue?
we can do it right now if you want.
Yeah. So John, I sent you the link to the UA box, and you said you thought you want to take a shot at trying to compress that image. I also send you an email that you should be able to vector into the particular image I'm working with.
Before
Okay.
you continue, is the formal meeting over?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'll stop the recording. Okay, thanks.